There are nights when even time itself seems to pause. Have you ever experienced such a moment? A moment when all the noise of life suddenly fades away. No more traffic. No more chatter. Just the soft rhythm of your own breath and a stillness that feels endless. Somewhere in this world, there are still places like that. Places where people don't race against time. Places where days are not counted by calendars, but by each mindful breath. Myanmar is one of those places. A land of ancient temples, of statues of the Buddha weathered by centuries of rain, and of monks who dedicate their entire lives to silent meditation. Here, Buddhism is not just a religion, it's a way of life. In Myanmar, every man, whether king or commoner, has once worn the saffron robe. Some for a few days, just to fulfill tradition. But some choose to walk this path until the very end. And among those monks, there are a few whose stories become part of the fabric of time. Htike Sayadaw is one of them. His name, Htike in Burmese, means the one who meditates through the night. It's not just a nickname. It's how people remember a life lived quietly, steadily, like the breath of midnight. He was born near Mandalay, the heart of Buddhism in Myanmar. No one knows exactly when he was born, but they say that even as a small novice, he would sit quietly in the corner of the monastery at dusk. He didn't like to talk much. He wasn't drawn to lengthy philosophical debates. He simply sat and breathed. As he grew older, Htike Sayadaw practiced at Mahakuthada Monastery, the place known as the world's largest book, where stone tablets preserve the entire Pali Canon. There, the teachings of the Buddha are carved into stone, as if to remind us that while scriptures may last for ages, time itself is just a passing breeze. He lived a life of simplicity. 1 meal a day, only enough food to sustain the body. No excess. No accumulation. No seeking of fame. He devoted his days and nights to vipassana meditation, the practice of seeing things as they truly are. Not to escape reality, but to witness it fully breath by breath. Some nights, the disciples said, a dim light could be seen flickering from his hut. But in truth, it wasn't a lamp. It was the quiet glow of mindfulness itself. Htike Sayadaw never sought to be famous for his teachings. He didn't write books. He left behind no formal discourses. What he left behind was a life so simple, so still, like a flower that blooms silently in the night, without needing anyone to notice. In his later years, he chose to enter complete retreat. No visitors, no conversations. He stayed in a small meditation hut within Mahakuthada Monastery. Day after day, night after night, he kept his body still, his speech silent, his mind calm, like a lake untouched by the wind. His disciples quietly brought him food each day. A small ball of rice, a little water, no more. He told them, if I do not respond, just let me be. I won't be coming out anymore. Let me sit. And so they did. They closed the door to his hut and let time continue on outside. Inside, he sat. He breathed. And perhaps he looked deeply into himself. In Myanmar, many monks choose to enter retreat like this in their final years. For them, it is not a withdrawal from life. It is a step deeper into understanding. They do not seek miracles. They do not desire mystical powers. They simply let go. Letting go again and again until nothing remains to hold on to. And that is Htike Sayadaw, a monk who lived a life so simple that it came down to just one thing, sitting still in the ever-flowing stream of impermanence. But the story of Htike Sayadaw doesn't end there, because after his final breath, something unusual began to unfold. There are moments in a person's life when all the noise simply fades away. No more desires, no more attachments. It is not death, but rather a return, a quiet returning back to the self. Venerable Htike Sayadaw chose to close his life with complete silence, not because he was frail, not because of illness, but because The time had come to fulfill the greatest vow of his life. The Venerable Sayadaw vowed to keep his body still until the body itself ceased. This was not a proclamation, nor was it a challenge to impermanence. It was simply a journey back into stillness. In Myanmar, it is not unusual for meditation masters to enter long retreats toward the end of their lives. But for Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw, his chosen way of retreat was unlike any other. He asked his disciples to prepare a small meditation hut for him. Simple, unadorned, just enough space for one person to sit quietly. No bed, no mat, no cushions, only a place to sit, to breathe, and to remain aware. The Venerable Sayadaw spoke softly to his disciples. From today onward, I will no longer receive visitors. I will not answer greetings, and I will not step outside again. Let me sit as I am. Do not call me. Do not wake me. When this body comes to its natural end, let things unfold as they will. And so the door to his hut was gently closed. Inside, the meditation master sat, breathing in, breathing out, embracing the spaces between each breath. His disciples continued to bring him one meal a day. Just a small portion of rice, a bit of clear water. Sometimes he would eat. Sometimes the food remained untouched. No one asked. No one interrupted. Time flowed on, but no one counted the days anymore. For in Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw's world, day and night were one and the same. The Venerable Sayadaw did not want people to see him as a master to be admired. He never sought praise, nor did he wish to be disturbed by the curious. All he wanted was to sit, and to keep his vow, to keep the body unmoving until this body comes to an end. There is a story that has been passed down by oral tradition. According to some disciples, before entering his final retreat, Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw quietly whispered to a close attendant. He told him that he already knew the day of his departure, not as a prediction, not as a display of supernatural power, but simply because when one lives fully with each breath, death becomes like an old friend, a friend who arrives gently, exactly when it is time. The attendant did not tell anyone. He kept the story to himself. Only after everything had passed did this tale find its way into whispers between disciples. Of course, the story of the master knowing his day of passing is part of oral tradition. It is not recorded in official texts. No written document confirms it. It is simply something people continue to share in quiet conversations under the soft glow of evening lamps. And then one day, when a disciple brought the daily meal to the door of the hut, the Venerable Sayadaw was still sitting just as before. But that day, the breath had come to rest. He had passed away in meditation posture, unmoving, unshaken, without a final sigh. They left him as he was. No one dared to move his body. In Myanmar, there is an understanding among practitioners that when a meditation master attains deep absorption, the body may remain seated for days, sometimes even for months, after life has ceased. So the door remained closed. Day after day, the Venerable Sayadaw sat, still, serene. Some said, through the cracks in the door, they could still see him breathing, as if he had not left this world at all. But that, too, is part of oral tradition. There is no record, no verification, only the quiet stories people continue to tell during late evenings in gentle tones to those who are willing to listen. Even now, his body remains in the meditation hut, unmoved, undisturbed. Some call it the silent body, not to turn it into a miracle, not to worship it, but simply as a reminder of stopping, of ceasing in a world that never stops. And this story is still shared today, in quiet whispers, over tea that has long grown cold, between breaths and thoughtful nods. The next part of the story will speak of this silent body and the reflections it leaves behind about impermanence. I'm not quite sure where to begin, because some stories are not written in books. They are whispered from one person to another, across time. No one dares to confirm them, and no one really wants to deny them. They are simply kept alive in memory, in the quiet hearts of those who once walked near that place. The incorruptible body of Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw remains there, even to this day. The Venerable Sayadaw passed away, yet his body stayed in the same meditation posture, his back upright, hands gently resting in his lap, eyes softly closed, as though listening to the wind pass through the trees. Time has moved on, days, months, years, but his body has not shown signs of decay in the way ordinary bodies do. There is no strange smell, no sign of rotting or breaking down. It's as if the Venerable Sayadaw simply fell into a deep sleep, a sleep of someone who has truly let go, but never really left. His body is not kept in a grand stupa or a glass case for display. It remains in the same humble meditation hut where he once sat. The door stays closed, but not locked. People come and they stand quietly outside. Some walk around the hut in silence. No one dares to enter. Perhaps they are afraid to disturb that silence. Some sit quietly at the steps. They light a stick of incense. They don't ask for anything. They don't pray for favors. They just sit there, breathing with the space around them. I once heard the villagers say that on certain nights when the moon is dim, they saw a faint light flickering at the door of the hut. It wasn't a lantern. It wasn't fire. Just a soft pale glow, like the breath of the forest, finding its way through the cracks in the door. Others spoke of a gentle fragrance. When they walked near the hut, they caught the scent of something light, but couldn't name it. It wasn't incense. It wasn't any known flower. It was simply a scent that appeared for a moment, then disappeared, as if it had never been there at all. There are also stories of people who deep into the night heard the sound of a wooden gong, rhythmic, soft, echoing. But when they went closer, the door was still closed, and no one was inside. I cannot say whether these things truly happened. I only know some people heard them. Others did not. Some tell the stories in detail. Others just smile and remain silent. People often ask me, is it true that the body of the Venerable Sayadaw has not decayed? All I can say is this: he is still sitting there, still in the meditation posture, day after day. If you wish to call that incorruptible, perhaps it is. But it is a kind of incorruptibility that comes from one thing: the stopping of all movement. It is not about being miraculous, nor is it about turning the Venerable Sayadaw into an object of worship. He simply lived his life fully present with each breath. And when his breath stopped, his body remained. That's all. Some compare it to the self-mummified monks in Japan, the Soku Shinbutsu who preserved their bodies through ascetic discipline. Others mention the lamas of Tibet, whose bodies did not decay after passing away in deep meditation. But for Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw, this was not the goal of his practice. He did not seek to become an incorruptible body. He did not meditate to preserve his form. He simply sat until the day came when breath no longer moved. Perhaps this condition of his body is just the natural result of living in deep awareness. Or perhaps it is something the people have added over time to keep the story alive. I cannot say for certain. I do not claim to know the truth beyond truth. I only know that when someone told me these stories, I listened. And now I share them with you on a quiet night, over a cup of tea that has long gone cold, between gentle breaths and a stillness that lingers quietly in the heart. It's late now. The tea has long gone cold. We've walked together through the story, through the life of a meditation master, through a journey of silence, and through the quiet mystery of a body that remains still. But perhaps what I've shared with you tonight is not just a story about an incorruptible body. If we stopped there, maybe we would miss the most important part. You see, in the Buddha's teaching, this body is impermanent. All of us will grow old. All of us will get sick. And all of us will die. No one escapes that truth, not even the great masters. So perhaps the fact that Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw's body has not decayed is not the central miracle here. Maybe the real wonder lies somewhere else, not in the body that remains, but in the way he lived, and in the way he stopped. Some people have asked me, is preserving the body the most important thing? I don't answer right away. I simply pour them another cup of tea and quietly ask, are we trying to preserve a body or preserve a way of life? Are we holding on to a form or to a teaching? Because when a person lives fully present with each breath, when they have let go of all the noise, all the chasing, all the rush of the world, then whether the body remains or fades away, that is no longer the point. Venerable Khuya Htike Sayadaw did not leave behind a body for people to admire. He left behind a reminder about stopping. In a world that never stops, a world that rushes for more, for faster, for bigger, he chose to sit still, without saying more, without explaining himself, without trying to prove anything. To stop is a courageous act. How many of us dare to sit still when everyone else is running? How many of us dare to slow down when the world keeps spinning faster? The Venerable Sayadaw sat, not for people to worship, not for anyone to bow before him. He sat because it was his choice, a quiet, peaceful choice. And when the breath stopped, he did not leave that stillness. The body remained still, the mind remained still, and time itself seemed to pause at the door of the hut. We, the ones who remain, tell stories about him. Some call it a miracle. Some call it an incorruptible body. Some simply say, he is still sitting there. But no matter what name we give it, what remains for us is not just the body. It is a way of living that knows when to stop. We don't all need to sit in meditation for a lifetime. We don't need to hold our bodies still for years. But perhaps it's worth asking ourselves, how long has it been since we last sat still? Maybe just 5 minutes. 10 minutes. In the middle of a busy day, to take one deep breath, to pause, to do nothing at all. That might be enough. As I share this with you, I'm not asking you to become anyone else. I'm not giving you a task. Just a small reminder that each of us can find our own way to stop in our own quiet time. Maybe it's pausing in the late afternoon, watching the last light fall on the rooftop. Maybe it's hearing a bird sing and not reaching for the phone to check the time. Maybe it's stopping right now as this story comes to a close. I don't have an answer for you. And perhaps this story doesn't need one. It's just a quiet story to leave with you, softly, like a wisp of incense smoke drifting through the air before disappearing into the night. Thank you for sitting here with me and listening tonight.